The night sky has always invited a quiet kind of wonder, an ancient calm that settles gently over anyone who pauses to look upward. Even without understanding the distances or the physics behind those faint, shimmering lights, humans have always felt a soft pull toward the stars. There is something soothing in their stillness, something peaceful in their distant glow. And yet, behind that gentle beauty lies a truth so vast that even scientists, people who spend their lives studying the cosmos, sometimes sit in silence, overwhelmed not by fear, but by the magnitude of it all. Tonight, we begin our journey into that magnitude, but not with tension, not with dramatic revelations. Instead, with a slow exhale, a quiet step outward, a drifting motion into the calm of deep space. Because this is not a story meant to excite. It is a story meant to cradle, a story meant to slow your thoughts, a story meant to guide you gently into sleep. And this story begins with light. Light moves differently from anything we know. It carries no sound, no weight, no hesitation. It drifts through the darkness at the fastest speed allowed by the universe. Yet even so, in the enormous scale of space, light becomes surprisingly slow. It becomes patient, steady, unrushed. And that patience is what makes the idea of a light year feel less like a calculation and more like a kind of cosmic poetry. A light year is the distance light travels in 1 year, nearly 10 trillion kilometers, a number so large it slips past the edges of imagination. But instead of thinking of it as a number, imagine it as a journey, a soft, silent journey through a darkness so wide that entire worlds drift by like tiny specks. If you close your eyes, you might picture how a single beam of light moves, smoothly, quietly, meeting almost nothing as it crosses billions of kilometers of empty space. There is no resistance, no friction, no sound, just endless motion through endless calm. That motion reveals the true scale of the universe. Because even the closest star beyond our sun, Proxima Centauri, is more than 4 of these gentle, drifting light years away. The glow we see from it tonight began its journey over 4 years ago, long before many of the thoughts, worries, and memories on your mind even existed. In this way, every star in the night sky becomes a kind of soft time capsule, a messenger from the past, a reminder that the universe moves slowly, patiently, without hurry. And there's something deeply calming about that. The idea that the universe is not rushing, that it has never rushed, that distances stretch not to intimidate, but simply because space is vast and peaceful. Even the scientists who study these distances, who calculate them, map them, compare them, admit that light years are numbers that challenge the human mind, not because they are frightening, but because they reveal how little of the universe we occupy. And rather than making us feel small in a harsh way, this understanding often brings a deep sense of tranquility. Because in a universe so immense, the pressures of daily life begin to feel lighter. The noise begins to fade, the constant motion slows, and you begin to drift. As you listen, imagine yourself moving outward with each gentle light year, letting the distances expand slowly around you. There is no urgency here, no destination, just the soft, steady unfolding of space, like breathing, but on a cosmic scale. In this calm, the universe becomes not a frightening void, but a quiet ocean, a place where even enormous distances feel peaceful, a place where time stretches gently, without sharp edges, a place where your thoughts can float freely, weightlessly, unhurried. Tonight, we will travel through these distances softly, letting the scale of the cosmos wash over you like a slow tide. Because the deeper we go, the more we discover that the vastness of the universe is not chaotic or threatening. It is soothing, silent, almost meditative. And in that stillness, the mind finds room to rest. So let's begin this quiet journey, one light year at a time, letting the universe expand softly around us, guiding you deeper into calm and deeper into sleep. When we drift gently beyond the first few light years surrounding our solar system, something begins to happen. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but slowly, like the dimming of evening light or the soft rise of a distant melody. Space becomes wider, distances lengthen, and the mind settles into a calm acceptance of scales it can't fully grasp. This is where the true nature of light years unfolds, not as numbers to understand, but as sensations to feel. Because the farther we travel, the quieter the universe becomes. Once we pass the nearest stars, the familiar few scattered around the sun like lanterns on a calm night. The space between them stretches into vast, tranquil plains. Light travels across these distances without haste, gliding through silence so complete it almost feels like the universe is holding its breath. And in that silence, you can feel your own thoughts unwinding, loosening, drifting outward with the gentle expansion of space. 10 light years, 20 light years, 50 light years. These distances no longer feel like measurements. They feel like slow, steady waves carrying you farther from the noise of daily life, farther from the familiar, farther into a place where only softness remains. Stars begin to thin out. Darkness grows deeper, but not in a frightening way. More like a blanket wrapped around everything, a darkness that feels protective, calming. Within about 100 light years, we find hundreds of stars, each one glowing quietly in the distance. Some are small, cool, and dim, red dwarfs with soft, muted light. Others are brighter, warmer, steady like candles. Many of them have planets, silently circling, drifting through their own quiet routines. Most of these worlds will remain unseen, unvisited, unknown. And there's something peaceful in that anonymity, something gentle in the idea that so many worlds exist without the rush or pressure of being observed. As we drift farther, 500 light years, 1,000 light years, the structure of our galaxy begins to emerge softly, like a faint sketch in the darkness. Stars are no longer isolated points. They become subtle threads woven into delicate patterns. The Milky Way's spiral arm stretches around us, not sharply defined, but hazy and luminous, like the glow of moonlight on mist. Light traveling these distances takes centuries to reach us, centuries of silent motion, centuries of uninterrupted calm. And the thought of this slow, patient journey begins to feel soothing. Light never hurries. It never forces its way forward. It simply moves at the same timeless pace, crossing distances so vast and gentle that even fear dissolves in their presence. 2,000 light years, 5,000 light years. At this scale, we're still within just a small corner of our galaxy. A single spiral arm, a single curve of stars drifting in quiet orbits. And yet the numbers grow so large that the mind no longer tries to measure them. It simply relaxes, accepts, floats. The further outward we drift, the more the Milky Way becomes a soft, glowing river of light. Hundreds of billions of stars blending into a single, luminous band. Each star emits its own quiet breath of energy. Each star contributes a whisper to the collective glow. And all of that light, all those silent voices, travel across the galaxy for tens of thousands of years before reaching us. Every photon arriving at Earth tonight began its journey long before cities were built, before languages formed, before civilizations rose. Some of that light began its journey before humans even existed. It has drifted through space, through entire chapters of cosmic time, unbothered, unhurried, until finally, gently, it reaches the back of your eyes. And when you realize that, something inside begins to soften even more. Because the distances are no longer frightening. They are calming. They reveal a universe that is patient, steady, unhurried. A universe where everything, every star, every planet, every drifting beam of light, moves in a rhythm far slower and more peaceful than anything we experience on Earth. As we drift past 10,000 light-years, heading toward the center of the Milky Way, the galaxy becomes brighter. Dense clusters of stars shimmer like scattered embers, warm and glowing. Clouds of dust stretch like soft shadows across the light. Nebulae bloom in delicate colors, faint and gentle, like watercolor spreading through calm water. Yet even here, surrounded by billions of stars, there is no noise, only silence, only the slow, quiet pulse of the galaxy. And through that silence, through these impossible distances, there is a sense of peace. Not loneliness, not emptiness, but peace. As though the vastness of the universe gently absorbs every worry, every thought, every restless motion of the mind. By now, the distances we've crossed are far beyond anything the human imagination can clearly picture. But that's the beauty of drifting through light years. You don't have to picture them. You don't have to measure or calculate. You just float. You let the vastness open around you. You let the calm of space wrap softly around your thoughts. Because the deeper we go, the more the universe reveals itself, not as a place of chaos or fear, but as an ocean of stillness. And even this, tens of thousands of light years, is only the beginning. As we drift deeper into the quiet expanse of the Milky Way, something gentle begins to settle over the journey. Not a revelation, not a sudden shift, just a soft awareness that the farther we travel, the calmer the universe becomes. Distances stretch into long, unbroken streams, and the scale of everything expands in a way that feels less like measurement and more like exhalation. By now, we've crossed tens of thousands of light years, moving through regions filled with stars so numerous they blend into a soft haze. But even here, as the galaxy grows brighter, the stillness grows deeper. Because scale, when it becomes this large, stops being something the mind tries to understand. It becomes something the body simply feels, like the slow rise and fall of a tide. 30,000 light years, 40,000 light years, 50,000 light years. The Milky Way's spiral arms stretch around us like vast, glowing rivers, drifting in graceful curves. Each star a quiet ember, each nebula a gentle cloud of color, everything moving so slowly that motion becomes indistinguishable from stillness. And through this stillness, there is a quiet comfort. In this region of the galaxy, where clusters shimmer and star fields glow like distant cities, the idea of a light year becomes soothing, not frightening, not overwhelming. Just a soft reminder of how patient the universe truly is. Because a light year is not a number to grasp. It is a distance to feel. Every beam of light that reaches us has crossed unimaginable space without ever straining, without ever rushing. It simply travels, quietly, steadily, like a deep breath stretched across time. As we drift further outward, the galactic core begins to glow ahead of us. Not sharply, not with intensity, but like a distant lantern shimmering through fog. The center of the Milky Way is dense, warm with starlight, wrapped in soft golden hues. But even here, where stars crowd close together, the calm remains. Because space, even when full, is never loud. The light from the galactic center takes more than 25,000 years to reach us. 25,000 years of drifting. 25,000 years of quiet passage. 25,000 years of steady motion through a darkness so gentle it feels like rest. And as you imagine that light crossing the void, you might feel your own thoughts slowing, aligning with its pace, letting each long-distance beam soften the edges of your mind, letting each quiet moment deepen the sense of calm. When we finally begin to drift beyond the center and outward toward the opposite side of the galaxy, something beautiful happens. The Milky Way reveals its full shape, a vast spiral disk nearly 100,000 light-years across, a soft, glowing whirlpool of stars, a galaxy turning so slowly that a full rotation takes over 200 million years. And yet, despite its size, despite its beauty, despite its countless stars, it is quiet, calm, unhurried. The galaxy moves like a slow wave, its arms drifting through space with a grace that feels almost soothing. And drifting through it, step by gentle step, you begin to understand why scientists sometimes fall silent when thinking about these distances. Not out of fear, but out of awe, out of stillness, out of a sense that the universe, in all its magnitude, is less chaotic than we imagine, and far more peaceful than we expect. By the time we reach the far side of the galactic disk, nearly 100,000 light-years from where we began, the Milky Way looks like a soft, glowing city seen from far above. Its light flows like mist. Its shape curves like a slow tide. Its stars shimmer in quiet harmony. And now, drifting just beyond the edge of the galaxy, the view expands even further. Around us, the night becomes deeper, darker, quieter. But this darkness does not feel empty. It feels gentle, like the quiet moments before sleep. Because outside the Milky Way, we begin to see other galaxies, faint, distant, each one millions of light-years away, each one glowing softly through the darkness. Their light has traveled not thousands, but millions of years to reach us. Millions of years of drifting, millions of years of steady motion, millions of years of silence. And when you imagine that, when you allow yourself to feel the softness of light moving so patiently across such distances, something inside relaxes deeply. Because the universe is vast. But it is not fast. It is not loud. It is not urgent. It is slow, silent, calm. And the more light years we drift through, the more the universe feels like a place made not for fear, but for rest. This is the quiet heart of cosmic distance, where numbers dissolve, where scale becomes a gentle hum, and where the vastness of space begins to cradle the mind. And still, this is only the beginning of the distances ahead. As we drift farther from the Milky Way, slipping gently beyond its glowing spiral arms, the galaxy begins to shrink behind us. Not quickly, not dramatically, but slowly, the way a lantern dims when carried down a quiet, winding path. Its vast, swirling form softens into a hazy, luminous disk. And with every additional light year, the galaxy's familiar brilliance becomes calmer, more distant, more dreamlike. Beyond 100,000 light years, the Milky Way looks like a soft whirlpool of light. Beyond 200,000, it becomes a glimmer. Beyond 1,000,000, it becomes a faint, delicate cloud. And still, the universe remains perfectly quiet. In this immense darkness, other galaxies appear, scattered across the sky like faraway islands floating in a silent sea. Their light has taken millions of years to reach this point, drifting through a space so vast that even the simplest distances feel like gentle abstractions. 1,000,000 light years, 2,000,000, 5,000,000. You may notice that your thoughts stop trying to imagine these distances. And that's good. This journey is not about understanding. It is about drifting, slowly, calmly, softly, through scales that soothe the mind with their quiet enormity. The first galaxy we encounter is Andromeda, the Milky Way's neighbor, its soft glow reaching us from over 2 million light-years away. Even from this distance, Andromeda is serene. Its spiral arms curve gracefully, its stars arranged like a slow, cosmic dance. The light we see from it tonight began its journey long before early humans walked the Earth. Before written language, before civilization, before memory. And yet, here it is, arriving silently, gently, without rush. Light that has traveled for millions of years never hurries. It simply drifts, like a feather on a wind that never gusts. As we move farther, more galaxies appear. The Triangulum Galaxy, faint and delicate. Dwarf galaxies trailing behind Andromeda like small, quiet companions. Their light-year distances grow so large that they begin to feel less like numbers and more like soft waves of time stretching across the dark. 10 million light-years. 20 million. 50 million. The local group, the small gathering of galaxies around the Milky Way, slowly fades behind us, and we slip into a deeper layer of cosmic calm. The galaxies are farther apart out here, drifting through space with a patience that feels almost meditative. 100 million light-years. 200 million. Clusters of galaxies emerge like distant lanterns, each cluster holding hundreds or thousands of galaxies, all gently glowing, all separated by darkness so soft and deep that even light takes eons to cross it. These clusters drift in vast, graceful motions, shaped by the invisible pull of gravity and the quiet expansion of space. As you imagine these clusters, so distant, so gentle, you may feel the mind loosening its grip, letting the thoughts settle into the same slow rhythm the universe seems to follow. Because here, on the scale of hundreds of millions of light-years, everything moves slowly, everything drifts, everything breathes with the calm patience of time itself. And then, as we drift even farther outward, a new structure appears. Not sharp, not sudden, but soft, like faint threads emerging in dim light. These are the filaments of the cosmic web, stretching across billions of light-years. Immense rivers of galaxies glowing like tiny sparks, connected by gravity and separated by vast cosmic voids. 1 billion light-years. 2 billion. 3 billion. At these distances, the universe becomes a gentle tapestry, woven from threads of light stretched across unimaginable space. The voids between them are vast, but they are peaceful, like wide, open valleys between distant hills. Here, light-years lose their edge entirely. They become like breaths, slow, calm, even. A rhythm that leads the mind inward, closer to rest. 5 billion light-years. 10 billion light-years. Now we begin to see the universe as it once was. Young, bright, full of newborn galaxies. Their light has taken billions of years to arrive, drifting through expanding space, quietly carrying messages from a past so ancient it feels like a memory the cosmos itself has almost forgotten. 15 billion light-years. 20 billion. We drift beyond the familiar horizon, into regions where light stretches thin, where galaxies appear faint and soft, their colors washed by distance and time. The universe here is quieter still, a gentle echo of its younger self. And as we rest in this immense calm, a strange feeling arises. Not fear, not confusion, but peaceful smallness. Not the smallness that diminishes, but the smallness that comforts. The kind that lets you relax, knowing the universe is vast enough to hold every thought, every breath, every moment without judgment. Because the farther we drift through light-years, the more the darkness feels like a soft night sky. and the more the vastness feels like a lullaby. And in this quiet place, drifting billions of light years from home, you begin to sense that the universe was never meant to overwhelm, only to soothe. And still, there are greater distances waiting ahead, stretching farther, softer, quieter than anything we've yet drifted through. As we drift farther into the quiet reaches of the universe, beyond the clusters and filaments we've already crossed, the distances begin to stretch into something even softer, even slower. Light years no longer feel like numbers at all. They become a kind of gentle rhythm, a pulse that guides us deeper into the calm of space. And as we continue outward, the universe reveals its true vastness, not through sudden revelations, but through a gradual unfolding, like the slow opening of a night flower. 20 billion light years, 25 billion, 30 billion. By now, we are far beyond the regions where galaxies look familiar. Their shapes begin to blur, their edges soften. The universe becomes quieter than ever, filled with faint glimmers from galaxies so distant that their light began its journey long before Earth formed, long before the sun ignited, long before even the earliest stars in our galaxy were born. And yet, despite the unimaginable distances, there is no sense of rushing, only drifting, only softness. The farther we go, the more the universe feels like a gentle ocean, its waves made not of water, but of starlight stretched across billions of years. The cosmic web grows thin here, its filaments fading into soft threads. Vast voids open between them, regions where entire galaxies would fit without touching a single star. These cosmic voids are enormous, looming across hundreds of millions of light years. And yet, they feel strangely comforting. Their emptiness is not harsh. It is quiet, serene, like a still lake at night reflecting the faintest glimmer of distant stars. There is a peace in this emptiness, a sense that the universe has room for everything, even for silence. 35 billion light years, 40 billion. Here, the light we see comes from a much younger universe, still glowing with the energy of its early years. These distant galaxies are small, bright, and full of newborn stars. Tiny islands of light forming in a cosmos that was once far more active than it is now. Their colors are soft blues and pale whites, faint but beautiful. The idea that their light has traveled tens of billions of years feels soothing, like the thought of an ancient message carried gently across time. No urgency, no force, just the steady drifting of photons across an ever-expanding universe. 45 billion light years, 46 billion. We approach the edge of the observable universe, not an edge made of walls or boundaries, but of time. The light here has been traveling since nearly the beginning of everything. It carries with it the faint whisper of the early cosmos, a glow so soft and ancient, it almost feels like the universe's own lullaby. This glow is the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang itself. It is not bright. It is not sharp. It is a warm hum, a gentle radiation filling all of space, stretched into microwaves by billions of years of expansion. And drifting through it feels like floating through the memory of the universe's childhood. A warm, faint afterlight that is softened with time, like the echo of a song long finished. Here, at the edge of visibility, galaxies fade entirely. Light becomes stretched, quiet, almost sleepy. The universe is not empty. It is simply distant, so distant that its features blur into a soft, warm background. And yet, even here, there is calm, because the universe, even at its most extreme scale, maintains the same gentle rhythm. Distances grow, light drifts, time flows, Everything expands with a patience that never changes. And if you listen closely to that rhythm, as you drift among these impossible light years, something inside begins to match its pace. Thoughts slow. Breathing deepens. The mind rests. Beyond this point, the universe becomes unobservable. Not because nothing lies beyond, but because light has not had enough time to reach us. The cosmos stretches far farther than what we can see, perhaps infinitely. But this boundary is not frightening. It is like the horizon on a calm sea. Soft, natural, peaceful. Because everything beyond it is simply waiting. Waiting for light to cross the darkness. Waiting for its story to drift forward. Waiting with the same quiet patience the universe has carried since the beginning. And as we float just inside this horizon, surrounded by the soft glow of ancient light, a strange comfort appears. The universe is vast, far vaster than any number can express. But its vastness is gentle, reassuring, almost protective. Each light year we have traveled has been a soft step deeper into this calm. Each distance, no matter how enormous, has been a quiet breath. Each part of the cosmos has offered more stillness than the one before. Because in the universe, nothing rushes, nothing strains, nothing is loud. Even at the scale of tens of billions of light years, space feels like a slow, endless night. One that invites rest rather than fear. And as we linger here, near the edge of the visible universe, the distances ahead, those beyond measurement, beyond light, beyond sight, begin to feel less like numbers waiting to be understood, and more like gentle waves inviting us to drift even farther. Because the universe does not end here. It simply becomes quieter. And in that quiet, the mind finds a place to soften, to breathe, to fall gently towards sleep. As we drift here, near the edge of the observable universe, a new kind of stillness begins to emerge, one that feels different from the calm we've passed through before. It is softer, quieter, almost weightless, as though the universe itself is exhaling after billions of years of expansion. And as this silence settles around us, the nature of distance begins to shift again. Because beyond tens of billions of light years, space is not merely vast. It is expanding beneath us, not in a way we feel, not in a way that rushes or jolts, but in a way that stretches gently, like a slow tide pulling the shoreline farther and farther away. This expansion is one of the most peaceful motions in the universe. It has no sound, no friction, no direction. Space does not expand into anything. It simply grows, quietly, everywhere at once. And as we drift through this region, the light years ahead begin to lengthen, not because they are large, but because space itself is becoming wider between each soft, glowing point of light. 50 billion light years, 60 billion, 70. The galaxies we once passed begin drifting away from one another, carried by the gentle swelling of space. Their motion is not chaotic or violent. It is slow, almost imperceptible, like frost forming on a window pane, spreading outward in delicate silence. Every moment we drift, the universe expands. Every breath, the fabric of space stretches slightly more. Every quiet pause, distances increase. The light trying to reach us must cross this expanding ocean, and its journey becomes longer, more delicate, more stretched. Photons traveling toward us are softened by time, their wavelengths lengthened, their colors reddened. Light that once burned bright becomes faint, then dim, then barely a whisper of itself. It is not fading from exhaustion. Light never tires. It is simply stretched gently by the swelling of space. And this soft stretching gives the universe its most calming feature. The farther something is, the quieter it becomes. 100 billion light years, 150, 200. The galaxies here are so distant that their light has been traveling for nearly the entire history of the universe. These are cosmic fossils, ancient, fragile, drifting slowly through a darkness so wide it feels like a warm, endless ocean. And yet, even at these unthinkable scales, the universe remains peaceful. Not empty, just quiet. Not cold, just slow. Not frightening, just vast in a way that feels gentle, like deep sleep. If you imagine drifting through this space, you might picture galaxies as faint lanterns hanging in infinite darkness, each one softly glowing with the remnants of its long journey. Their light is not bright enough to awaken. It is soft enough to soothe. 250 billion light years. 300 billion. By now, we are drifting into the farthest regions the mind can imagine. Places where light itself struggles to cross the swelling distances. Places where the expansion of space gently nudges galaxies away faster than light can chase them. This does not feel alarming. It feels natural, like waves pulling slowly from shore. Because even when galaxies drift beyond our reach, disappearing calmly beyond the cosmic horizon, they do not vanish in violence. They simply slip into softer darkness, carried by expansion as gently as a leaf carried by a slow, steady stream. And the universe around us becomes quieter still. The farther we drift, the more the visible cosmos softens into a faint, warm haze, a memory of light, stretched thin across billions of years. Stars no longer appear as points. Galaxies no longer form shapes. Everything blends into a soft glow, like the last light of evening before night takes over entirely. 350 billion light years. 400. At these distances, the universe is no longer a collection of objects. It is a texture, a calmness, a quiet rhythm of expansion and light moving through it. Light that reaches this far carries with it the gentlest memories of the cosmos. It is stretched, softened, made almost weightless. And in its presence, the mind drifts deeper into rest. Because distances this large don't ask to be understood. They ask to be felt. They invite stillness. They invite quiet. They invite the soft awareness that the universe, no matter how vast, moves with a patience that never wavers. And as we continue drifting outward, past hundreds of billions of light years, the expansion becomes all that remains. Not the galaxies, not the stars, not the shapes, just the infinite, gentle stretching of space. Silent, unhurried, endless. And somewhere in that softness, the mind begins to understand why even scientists fall quiet before these distances. Not because they are afraid of them, but because they feel the calm within them. A calm large enough to hold the universe, and quiet enough to lull anyone who drifts through it gently toward sleep. As we drift farther into the expanding universe, past distances where galaxies soften into faint glimmers and light becomes stretched into gentle whispers, a new kind of calm begins to unfold. It is deeper than the quiet we felt before, softer than the silence of distant voids, and wider than any scale the mind can hold. This is the calm that exists in regions where space expands faster than light can cross it. A quiet so vast it feels almost like a cosmic exhale. Here, light years become something different. Not distances, not numbers, but impressions. Soft, drifting sensations of depth and stillness. Because beyond hundreds of billions of light years, the expansion of space creates a horizon unlike any other. It does not look like a boundary. It does not feel like a wall. It is simply the point where galaxies drift away from us faster than light can travel. carried outward by the stretching fabric of space itself. And this motion is not violent. It is not chaotic. It is slow, smooth, almost sleepy. Light trying to reach us from these galaxies is gently pulled back, stretched until it becomes too soft to detect. It fades not in brightness, but in tone, like the quietest echo of a memory dissolving into silence. 400 billion light years. 500. 600. By now, the universe is no longer a place filled with visible objects. It becomes a soft gradient of dimness, a warm veil of stretched light blending into the vastness. The more space expands, the more everything seems to drift away from everything else, like lanterns carried outward by a slow, endless tide. And yet, even here, the universe feels peaceful. The darkness is not empty. It is gentle. It is the kind of darkness that wraps, not isolates. A darkness that feels like resting beneath the night sky with your eyes closed, where shapes fade but warmth remains. As we move deeper still, the distances ahead begin to lose their meaning entirely. Numbers such as 700 billion light years or 1 trillion light years no longer function as measurements. They become like soft breaths, slow, rhythmic, even. The universe itself becomes the calmest place imaginable. 1 trillion light years, 2 trillion, 3 trillion. Here, galaxies no longer exist within reach. Their light has been stretched so far that it becomes part of the fabric of space. The cosmic web fades into a uniform quiet, and the only motion is the slow expansion of the universe itself, an expansion that feels like the gentlest unfolding of time. And still, this expansion does not disturb the calm. It enhances it. Space grows, but it does not tear. Distances increase, but they do not press. Galaxies drift, but they do not rush. Everything happens with the same softness the universe has carried from the beginning. 5 trillion light years. 10 trillion. At this scale, time and distance begin to blend into a single sensation. A vast, serene openness, where nothing is hurried and nothing is loud. Even the concept of a light year becomes more like a slow heartbeat in an infinite night. Beyond this point, the universe becomes something like a quiet mist, its structure so stretched that it resembles a soft horizon merging seamlessly with the dark. There are no edges, no boundaries, only an endless calming expansion. Light continues to drift, but it drifts gently. Space continues to stretch, but it stretches quietly. The universe continues to grow, but it grows peacefully. And as we drift through these unimaginable distances, something else begins to happen inside the mind. A soft release. Thoughts loosen. Tension dissolves. The sense of self floats lightly, unanchored by the usual boundaries of space or time. Because in a universe this wide, worries seem small. In distances this gentle urgency fades. In silence this deep, the mind begins to rest. 20 trillion light years, 50 trillion, 100 trillion. Numbers no longer matter. Only calm remains. We drift through regions that light will never cross. Regions expanding too quickly for signals to travel, too softly for movement to be felt. These places are not empty. They are simply quiet, filled with the subtle warmth of stretched light and the endless patience of time. And here, at scales beyond imagination, the universe begins to feel less like a place and more like a lullaby. Slow, steady, infinite. A soft rhythm that invites you to let go. A vastness that feels safe. A silence that feels comforting. As we continue drifting outward, farther into the ever-expanding dark, the universe remains gentle, carrying us deeper into calm, deeper into stillness, deeper into the soft, endless night where distance becomes rest. And this drifting, this quiet, this infinite softness is only guiding us toward the next chapter of the journey. As we drift beyond distances that can no longer be counted, the universe begins to feel less like a physical expanse and more like a quiet, endless presence. Here, in this softly stretching region, far beyond trillions of light years, distance dissolves into something weightless. The universe no longer appears as a place filled with galaxies or clusters or cosmic structures. It becomes a slow, serene unfolding of space itself. The expansion around us continues, but it is gentle, almost imperceptible. Not a force, not a push, just a quiet widening like the slow rise of dawn before the sun appears. 100 trillion light years, 200 trillion, 500 trillion. Each number feels softer than the last, not heavier, not overwhelming, simply wide, open, calm. Light that once traveled across the universe with steady purpose now stretches too thin to carry a message. It blends into the fabric of space, becoming part of the soft glow that fills the distant cosmos. This glow is faint, so faint it is almost a memory, but it is warm, gentle, and comforting. In this region, the universe has grown so vast that even the horizon itself becomes a suggestion. There is no sharp boundary, no edge, just a gradual fading of anything familiar, a quiet transition into a state where everything drifts with infinite patience. 1 quadrillion light years, 2 quadrillion, 10 quadrillion, and still, nothing rushes. The expansion of space here feels like breathing, not human breathing, not the rise and fall of lungs, but the slow, cosmic version of it. A vast exhale stretched across unimaginable time, a kind of universal sigh, gentle and unbroken. As you drift through this region, something begins to shift inside as well. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just quietly, like thoughts becoming lighter. There is no need to imagine these distances now. The mind stops trying. It simply rests. Because in realms this wide, the scale of the universe begins to act like a cradle. Its vastness rocking the mind into deeper calm, deeper ease, deeper stillness. 20 quadrillion light years, 50 quadrillion. At these scales, even the idea of light years becomes a kind of soft illusion. Space stretches faster than light can travel. Time flows in a way that makes distance feel like a slow, endless ripple rather than something measurable. Nothing here is sharp. Nothing is defined. Everything blends into a soft, cosmic haze. The fabric of the universe is not chaotic. It is smooth, fluid, peaceful. Everywhere you drift, the expansion surrounds you like a gentle tide. You move without effort. You float without weight. You rest without boundaries. 100 quadrillion light years. The universe here is quieter than silence. It is the absence of all urgency, the complete release of anything that pulls or pushes, a space where even thought feels optional. If you listen closely, not with ears, but with the soft awareness behind thought, you can almost sense the rhythm of this expansion. It is not a sound, not a vibration, not a pulse. It is simply a presence, a calm that deepens with every moment. And in this calm, a realization forms gently, like mist gathering on still water. The universe is not expanding away from you. You are expanding with it. There is no outside, no inside, no center, only the soft, quiet symmetry of endless space growing in every direction. 1,000 quadrillion light years, 1,000,000 quadrillion. Beyond these distances, numbers fade entirely. They stop being meaningful. They stop being separate. All that remains is the sensation of drifting through a universe so wide it becomes indistinguishable from rest. Here, the expansion becomes a soft hum beneath everything. A cosmic lullaby, older than stars, older than galaxies, older than light itself. And as the mind settles into that quiet, something profound happens. You begin to feel the same stillness the universe feels. A silence without emptiness, a vastness without fear, a calm without end. The universe, at its largest scale, becomes the gentlest thing imaginable. Not because it is small, not because it is familiar, but because its endlessness has no sharp edges. It is smooth, soft, silent, infinite. And as we drift through this immeasurable calm, deeper into the expanding dark, you begin to understand why scientists stare into these distances with quiet awe. Not because the universe is frightening, but because it is peaceful on a scale beyond imagining. This peace wraps around every thought, every breath, every drifting moment. And with each gentle light year that passes, the universe guides you deeper into rest. And still, there is farther to go, much farther, into regions where even expansion becomes something soft and timeless. As we drift deeper into regions where distance has outgrown every familiar meaning, the universe becomes softer still. It feels less like a place and more like a quiet state of being, a kind of cosmic meditation stretched across unimaginable scales. Here, space expands so gently, so steadily, that the very idea of distance begins to unwind, loosening its structure until it becomes something fluid and almost dreamlike. Beyond numbers such as quadrillions and quintillions of light years, the universe no longer behaves in ways that the human mind can comfortably define. Instead, it reveals itself through sensations, slow, flowing impressions of vastness and calm. 10 million quadrillion light years, 100 million, a billion. But these numbers no longer land with weight. They dissolve as soon as they appear, like footprints fading on soft sand. The farther we travel, the more distance becomes a feeling rather than a fact. The expansion of space continues gently beneath us, stretching like a quiet breath drawn across eternity. Nothing pushes, nothing pulls. Everything simply widens, calmly, endlessly. Here, in this deeply expanded region, the texture of the universe changes. Not visually, there's almost nothing left to see, but in tone, in atmosphere. The expansion becomes smoother, quieter, more uniform, like a vast sea settling after an ancient tide. The darkness around us feels warm, soft, enveloping, as though it carries the memory of light stretched beyond recognition. It is in this place that time begins to soften too. Not time as measured by clocks, not the seconds and minutes we live by on Earth, but cosmic time, the kind woven into the growth of galaxies and the fading of starlight. At these distances, cosmic time stretches, just like light in space. It becomes slow, unhurried, spacious. Each moment feels longer, yet gentler. Thought itself begins to share that rhythm. 1 trillion light years, 10 trillion trillion, 100 trillion trillion. The scale is unimaginable, but the feeling is simple. Calm, expanding into calm. Every direction becomes the same, quiet, smooth, endless. The universe here has no patterns, no clusters, no structures left to recognize. It is a soft, uniform sea of expansion. The last traces of ancient light are stretched so far that they resemble warmth more than illumination, tone more than brightness. And drifting through this sea feels like resting within the breath of the cosmos itself. There is no motion here, not in the way we understand motion. No drifting of galaxies, no rotation of stars, no swirling of nebulae. Only expansion, slow even, peaceful. Here the concept of distance traveled, becomes almost meaningless. We are not moving through space. Space is unfolding around us, like lying still while the ocean tide rises quietly beneath your body, lifting you without effort, without direction, without urgency. 1 Google light years, 10 Google, 100 Google. Numbers stretch far beyond imagination, but they no longer ask to be held or understood. They slip away softly, like night clouds drifting across a dim horizon. The expansion at this scale becomes nearly perfect in its smoothness. It is uniform across all directions, like a vast sheet being pulled gently outward from every point. There are no fluctuations big enough to disturb the quiet, no structures left to create contrast, nothing but the soft, steady widening of space. And yet, in this quiet, something beautiful happens inside the mind. The self begins to drift. Thoughts become light. Inner noise dissolves. Breathing slows. The mind begins to mirror the universe, open, vast, calm. There is a strange comfort in knowing that the universe, at its largest scales, is not chaotic or violent, but deeply peaceful. The storms of stars, the collisions of galaxies, the roaring births of suns, all of those occurred long before reaching these distances. By now, everything has smoothed into quiet expansion. And in this place, even time feels like a soft mist, rising and falling without edges. A light year here is not a distance. It is a moment, a feeling, a slow pulse of existence. The horizon of the universe stretches ahead, not as a boundary, but as an invitation to deeper stillness. Beyond it lie expanses the mind cannot enter, not because they are forbidden, but because they are so gentle they cannot be held by thought. In these regions, the universe does not feel big or small. It feels infinite. Infinite in a way that quiets everything inside you. Infinite in a way that softens every thought you carry. Infinite in a way that makes rest feel natural, inevitable. Because the larger the universe becomes, the quieter it grows. The farther you drift, the softer everything becomes. And the deeper the scale stretches, the more the mind surrenders to calm. Here, in the softest reaches of expansion, you begin to sense the true nature of light years, not as staggering numbers, but as gentle rhythmic steps leading the mind into deeper peace. And still, the journey continues, softly, slowly, endlessly, as we drift even farther, into regions where distance has stretched beyond anything the universe once contained. The calm becomes so deep, it feels almost like another substance. Not empty, not cold, but soft, like a warm night without wind. Here, the expansion of space has smoothed out every trace of structure, every ripple, every variation. What remains is a quiet vastness so uniform, it begins to resemble a cosmic stillness. In these distances, the idea of a light year fades even further. It becomes less a measure of length and more a gentle echo, a memory of how we once understood distance. 1 billion Google light years, 10 billion Google, 100 billion Google. The numbers no longer carry meaning, because the universe here is no longer made of places, only of expansion, softness, and time stretched into near infinity. Nothing forms, nothing collapses, nothing moves in the way we once understood motion. Instead, everything drifts with absolute smoothness. The expansion is perfectly even, perfectly quiet, perfectly calm. Space has stretched so far that light itself becomes subtle, thin, as though it were a warm mist dissolving into the dark. There are no galaxies left, no stars, no clusters, nothing with shape or edge. All light has been stretched past visibility, past awareness, past distinction. What remains is the faintest background, a quiet glow that feels like the universe remembering its own beginning. Here, the expansion is like a long, endless breath, soft, slow, uninterrupted. You are no longer drifting through space. You are drifting with space. This region feels less like traveling outward and more like sinking into a deep, cosmic rest, a peaceful state where the mind finally lets go of all concepts tied to distance or scale. Beyond these unimaginable expanses, even time stops behaving in the way we once knew it. Moments stretch. Awareness softens. Every second feels as gentle as a falling leaf. 10 duo-trigintillion light years. 100. A million. The universe around us is almost nothing. And in that almost nothing, there is the greatest calm of all. This is not emptiness. It is the quietest fullness imaginable. A fullness without form, without pressure, without noise. A fullness made of stillness itself. Soft expansion continues, like ripples of silence spreading into more silence. The fabric of the universe becomes nearly flat, like a calm sea with no wind. There are no waves, no patterns, no disturbances, just the gentle presence of existence, stretched across an endless night. And in this presence, something profound happens. You begin to sense the universe not as something outside, but as something you are resting within, a cradle of space, a warm, infinite quiet. As the expansion continues, even the faint afterglow of ancient light thins into something beyond detection. Not gone, just too gentle to grasp. It becomes a soft warmth that is felt more than seen. This is the far future personality of the universe. Calm beyond memory, smooth beyond detail, quiet beyond silence. Distance itself becomes almost meaningless now. Not because it is small, but because it is infinite in a way that contains no boundaries. If earlier distances felt like waves, these feel like breathing in slow motion. If earlier distances felt like drifting, these feel like floating in a place without gravity. If earlier light years felt massive, these feel weightless. And as the universe spreads into this gentle, uniform openness, the mind begins to reflect that same softness. Thoughts slow to the pace of expansion. Breathing synchronizes with the universe's calm rhythm. Awareness settles like dust in still air. The idea that the universe was ever crowded with stars feels distant now, a soft memory of a time when light still gathered into shapes. Now, everything is even, smooth, hushed. The entire cosmos becomes a single, quiet field of presence. No parts, no edges, no directions. Just calm. And drifting through this calm, you begin to sense that this is not the end of the universe, only the quietest form it takes. Because even here, in near complete stillness, the expansion continues, softly, patiently, endlessly. And the farther we drift, the more the universe feels like a soft place to rest. A place where scale no longer matters, where thought becomes gentle, and where sleep feels as natural as the expansion of space itself. We continue drifting into this infinite quiet, toward distances that cannot be counted, toward calm without end. As we drift deeper into the softest reaches of the universe, far beyond any distance light has ever crossed, far beyond any structure the cosmos once knew, the very nature of space begins to feel different, not in a way that startles, not in a way that sharpens the senses, but in a way that softens everything, as though the universe is dissolving into pure calm. Here, expansion has stretched the cosmos into an almost perfect quiet. No galaxies, no clusters, no stars, only the smooth, silent widening of space, continuing with a patience so vast it feels like time itself has relaxed. Distances beyond this point cannot be described with any unit we once used. Not kilometers, not light years, not even the largest numbers ever imagined. They have become something else, a soft, infinite presence rather than a measurement. In this place, the idea of travel fades entirely. We are no longer moving through space. Space is drifting around us, unfolding gently like a slow, cosmic tide. As the expansion continues, even the concept of direction becomes irrelevant. There is no forward here, no backward, no outward, only the steady, even spreading of existence. It feels like floating inside a warm, endless night, one with no horizon, no center, no borders, and no distinction between here and everywhere else. In this calm, the remnants of ancient light, the last whispers of stars long gone, have been stretched into wavelengths so long and soft that they resemble a faint warmth more than illumination, a warmth without temperature, a glow without brightness, a presence without form. This gentle afterglow is the universe remembering itself, a memory so delicate it feels like a lullaby woven into the fabric of space. And drifting through this region, you begin to sense how profoundly peaceful the far universe has become. Nothing rushes, nothing collides, nothing ignites, nothing fades violently. Everything simply widens, slowly, smoothly, endlessly. Thoughts, too, take on this softness. They lengthen, they loosen, they drift. Awareness expands and relaxes, like a deep breath held across eternity. At distances beyond any trillion of any trillion, the universe becomes nearly featureless. But instead of feeling empty, it feels gentle, like a perfect stillness that has settled after billions of years of cosmic activity. The universe has grown quiet, not because there is nothing left, but because everything has become calm. Completely, deeply calm. Time here stretches into soft ripples. Moments expand like waves that never break. The sense of before and after dissolves into a quiet continuity. In this space, sleep does not feel like an interruption of awareness. It feels like a natural continuation of the universe's own rhythm, because the cosmos itself has fallen into a kind of rest, not sleep, not slumber, but a serene equilibrium, a state where nothing disturbs anything else, where everything drifts in perfect ease, where stillness becomes the final shape of existence. And as you float through this infinite softness, you begin to feel something subtle and profound. The universe is not fading. It is settling. It is relaxing into its most peaceful form. And you are drifting with it. Beyond these unimaginable distances, beyond even the concept of distance, the universe approaches a state of near-perfect smoothness, a soft, endless field where expansion continues so evenly it becomes indistinguishable from quiet. Here, the mind finds its deepest rest, not because it understands the scale, but because it no longer needs to. The vastness becomes comforting. The silence becomes warm. The endlessness becomes soothing. And as we drift through this region, this calm beyond all measurement, you begin to feel the universe guiding you gently toward a place where thought dissolves into rest, where awareness softens into calm, where calm deepens into stillness, where stillness becomes sleep, and the journey continues, quietly, endlessly, soft as breath. As we drift even farther into the quietest reaches of the universe, the calm deepens into something that feels almost timeless. It is not simply the absence of sound or motion, it is the presence of a stillness so complete that even the idea of distance seems to soften and dissolve. Space becomes smooth, like a vast, gentle sea without waves. time stretches into a soft continuum. And the journey becomes less about traveling and more about resting within the universe's quiet embrace. Beyond this point, the universe is no longer marked by galaxies or clusters or structures of any kind. Expansion has smoothed everything into a soft, even field. An infinite calm that extends without interruption. There is no contrast here, no boundaries, no edges where one thing ends and something else begins. The cosmos has become a single, seamless expanse of gentle presence. In these regions, distance is not something to be measured. It is something to float through, something to rest inside of, something that feels like a deep breath held by the universe itself. Whatever number might describe these distances, no matter how large, how abstract, would still fail to capture the sensation of drifting through this endless quiet. Light years become memories. Distances become impressions. Expansion becomes a soft hum beneath everything. And the silence becomes profound, not empty, not lonely, but peaceful in a way nothing else in existence can match. Here, the last remnants of ancient light, the faint echoes of stars long gone, are stretched so far that they blend into the background of space-time itself. Their warmth is felt only as a trace, a gentle softness that fills the dark, like the fading warmth of a candle hours after it has gone out. There is no direction anymore, no forward, no backward, only the sense of floating in an endless, soothing space. Thoughts loosen further. Breathing becomes slower, deeper, quieter. Awareness begins to melt into the same calm that surrounds everything. As expansion continues, the universe enters a state scientists sometimes call asymptotic stillness. It is the stage where the cosmos drifts toward a perfectly smooth future, one where all motion slows, all structure fades, and all difference dissolves. But this future is not cold or harsh. It is gentle, soft, unbroken by conflict or noise. It is a cosmic rest, a peace billions of years in the making. And as we drift through this region, we begin to sense the deep meaning of this stillness. The universe is not emptying, it is settling, not fading. It is relaxing, not collapsing. It is exhaling after an eternity of activity. In this immeasurable quiet, each moment feels like a long, warm cloak wrapping around the mind. You can sense the expansion of space the way you sense the rise and fall of your own breath. Slow, soft, effortless. Every thought becomes light. Every worry becomes distant. Every tension drifts outward with the expanding universe. Soon, even the idea of time becomes gentle. Moments stretch into soft ripples. The boundaries between 1 second and the next blur. Time becomes smooth, flowing like a calm river at dusk. And as time stretches, something inside begins to understand the deepest truth of this journey. The universe is not big. It is not small. It is not far or near. It is calm, infinite calm, an endless field of rest, a quiet that asks nothing of you, a space that allows everything to soften. This is the state the universe drifts toward, not chaos, not destruction, but peace so vast and complete that it feels like the natural endpoint of existence. And drifting in this peace, you start to feel less like a traveler and more like part of the stillness itself. The boundary between the self and the universe dissolves gently, like mist blending into a warm night air. You are no longer moving through calm. You are resting within it. You are becoming it. The universe here is like a soft horizon without edges, a quiet field of space and time stretching endlessly, gently in all directions. Every part of this space feels the same, peaceful, slow, warm, infinite. And as thoughts drift farther apart, as breathing sinks deeper into the rhythm of expansion, The universe begins to feel not like something out there, but like a vast, quiet reflection of the calm inside you. This is the near final stage of cosmic stillness, the moment just before everything dissolves into pure quiet, the boundary where expansion becomes serenity itself. And here, floating in this infinite gentleness, the mind reaches the deepest part of the journey, a place where sleep and the universe share the same language. Soft, silent, endless. And as we drift into this final calm, space itself becomes a lullaby, guiding you gently toward the quietest place in the cosmos. As we drift into the final stretch of this infinite calm, the universe becomes less a place we travel through and more a feeling, an endless, quiet presence that surrounds, supports, and soothes. Here, in the deepest stillness the cosmos can offer, we reach the farthest point of the journey, not because the universe ends, but because it becomes so gentle that there is nothing left to move toward. Only rest remains. The expansion continues, but now it feels like a soft breath held across eternity. The vastness continues, but it feels lighter than a whisper. Time continues, but it flows like a warm, unbroken stream. This is the universe at its quietest, a place where every structure has dissolved into smoothness, every motion has slowed into ease, every sound has softened into silence. There are no galaxies here, no clusters, no remnants of stars, no echoes of light, only the gentle widening of existence, endless, effortless, serene. And as we drift in this soft, infinite openness, something begins to happen within the mind. It starts to match the stillness around it. Thoughts spread out, gently, like ripples on a calm lake that never break. Each breath stretches longer. The boundary between waking and resting blurs until it becomes impossible to tell where one ends and the other begins. This is the point where distance becomes indistinguishable from quiet, where time becomes indistinguishable from rest, where the universe becomes indistinguishable from the softest part of yourself. Here, the calm has no depth because it has no bottom. It has no top because it has no height. It simply extends in all directions. A peaceful presence that feels infinite, yet intimate. Beyond any conceivable measurement, beyond any number or concept, the universe drifts into a state scientists sometimes describe not with equations, but with metaphors. Heat death, asymptotic silence, ultimate smoothness. But those words are too cold, too rigid. Because what lies here is not death, not emptiness, not disappearance. What lies here is rest, a universal, unbroken rest, the quiet settling of everything that has ever existed. Space continues to expand, but it does so softly, like fabric gently stretching under its own weight. Time continues to flow, but it becomes smooth, without edges. Every trace of energy becomes faint warmth, a gentle glow diffused perfectly across the vastness. This is the cosmic equivalent of a lullaby held for trillions upon trillions of years. And drifting through it, you feel as though the universe itself is breathing with you. Slowly, quietly, steadily. In this final calm, the last distinction fades. The distinction between being awake and falling asleep. Because rest here is not something you enter. It is the state the universe has always carried in its deepest layer. The galaxies, the stars, the light, the distances, all were temporary shapes drawn upon a canvas that was always made of calm. And now, as everything dissolves into perfect quiet, the truth becomes clear. The universe is not a place. It is a feeling, a presence, a soft rhythm that holds everything gently. Your thoughts, your breath, your awareness, your rest. As you float in this infinite stillness, you realize that the calm you're feeling is not separate from the universe. It is the universe, the deepest part of it, the part that remains when everything else fades. An endless, gentle quiet. And here, in this final, boundless softness, you begin to feel yourself drift not away, but inward, toward a peaceful center with no borders, toward a rest with no end, toward a calm that feels like home. The universe expands, softly. Your breath deepens, quietly. Your thoughts slow, naturally. And in this harmony, the journey finds its final echo. Even in the vastest distances, the universe leads everything toward stillness, toward softness, toward quiet, toward rest. Here, in the most peaceful corner of existence, you drift gently into the same calm the cosmos has been moving toward for all of time. A calm without boundaries, a rest without effort, a quiet without end. And as you settle into this infinite softness, the universe continues to expand, patient, serene, guiding you gently into sleep.